having a baby. Like, what? I'm having a baby right now? Like, what do you mean I'm having a baby right now? This is not what I was expecting. I'm thinking that I still had time to call my doula, to call my midwife, wait for them to get here, and for my mom to be here, for me to tell my husband that I'm about to have his baby. Like, I'm expecting that all of this, I have time.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. What a wonderful world.
All right, y'all, so let's go ahead and get started. I don't know what I'm feeling right now, but I'm feeling really excited to like share this story and tell y'all like what the heck happened to me. Y'all, I wasn't ready. I was not ready, and I think till this day I'm in denial, but we have a baby, so I can't be in denial for too long. I can't be. So let's go ahead and get started. I am in the process of getting ready to do some newborn photos for baby boy. So I figured, why not do my makeup on camera and explain to y'all how they got me, like what happened. God really was playing games, like, bruh. So we just gonna go ahead and walk through this whole situation. If you hear noise in the background, it's because Luna is over there with her auntie. If you hear a little, you know, some cooing, some awing, it's because baby boy is waking up. So bear with me. I'm a new mom, 2 under 2. If you don't know, it's a lot. It's given a lot in these past 8 days, but we're gonna get through this, and y'all gonna understand whether you understand or not. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, I'm gonna be using some makeup products. If I remember what I'm using, I will mention it. If I don't mention it, I'll put it down in the description box. If you have a question about something, feel free to leave it in the comment section and I will respond to you as quickly as possible. Other than that, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so where are we gonna start? We're gonna start at the beginning of my pregnancy. So this time around, if you follow me on social media, I have not been as active. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I haven't been as active as I was with my pregnancy with Luna. I don't know why, but this pregnancy felt a little bit different. When we got pregnant, same thing happened. I knew immediately that I was pregnant. I don't know who makes this pomade, but I'll find out and I'll put it in the description box, but I'm gonna start with my brows. So when I got pregnant, I was already in the know. I knew immediately that I was pregnant. So both of my pregnancies thus far, I've known really quickly that I was pregnant and that I was about to have a baby. I knew immediately that I wanted to go through my pregnancy process the same way I did with Luna, and you know, go through the natural birth process and have my baby at home like I did with Luna. If you did see my first birthing video with Luna, then you would have seen how beautiful it was. It was such an like an aromatic atmosphere. It was just so beautiful. It was an amazing experience. So I was like, of course I want to do that again and have that same experience. I could invite who I wanted to invite. And at this point that I started like making the decision, we were still trying to figure out if my husband would be here in time for me to be able to give birth, and he would be able to be here through the whole birthing process. And so I was just like, if he is going to be able to be here, like, of course I want him to experience like being there, not only in the hospital, but like he's experienced being in the hospital before, but I wanted him to experience like being able to catch his baby, to being able to deliver his baby, and just being a part of the atmosphere that we had the first time around when I gave birth to Luna. It was just such a beautiful atmosphere. So I just wanted to set that same tone, have that same experience, and I just knew it was gonna be amazing because my first birth was amazing. So what could go wrong? I'm about to use Shape Tape concealer in the shade Deep for my brows. So I just wanted him to have that experience and just be able to be like invitedly welcomed into the birthing atmosphere. In Dominican Republic, as far as what I've known and as far as what I've studied, a lot of women over there end up having cesareans. And if they do have a cesarean, even with them not having a cesarean, with them having natural births, the husbands don't go into the labor room with them. The husbands stay in the lobby and when that baby is born, then the baby comes out and they literally are like, here you go, hey, here's your baby, and then rush the baby back inside, do all of the tests, do all of the stuff that they need to do, and then hours afterwards, when mommy's out of surgery and mommy's, you know, in the room, that's when the husband is finally meeting the child. As you know, a lot of similarities with American culture as well. So I was like, nah, if my husband's gonna be here, he's gonna be right there with me, and he's gonna be able to see his baby just as soon as I'm able to see my baby, because like that's his baby too. So in my pregnancies, I normally don't have any issues whatsoever. I have no issues in my pregnancy except for like minimal things like extra like hormones and stuff like that. But as far as like pregnancy issues, like I never get preeclampsia, I don't have swollen feet, I don't have to have blood pressure. Like my blood pressure is literally like textbook, okay? Thank you, Jesus. So I don't ever have to deal with like the issues of being concerned with my pregnancy. So I was like, absolutely, we're gonna have this birth at home. This is what we're gonna do. We're excited about this. We're gonna move forward in this situation. So right now, same Shape Tape. I'm taking that and I'm gonna go under my eyes. I'm gonna put concealer there, and then I'm gonna go over it with the same Shape Tape concealer, but this one is the shade Tan Deep Sand. After we decided that, we started going through the process of just setting everything up for my home birth. I'm buying all of the supplies, I'm buying everything that I need in order to set up. Like I still had my birthing pool from when I gave birth with Luna, so I didn't have to buy that again, but all the like added stuff that I needed to grab, I started grabbing that and just setting myself up for when I go into labor, kind of having like my emergency bag for labor. So everything is going well, everything's going great. If you saw my first video, then you knew who my team was this time around. My doula that I had previously with my birth with Luna, her name was Lanaya, and she was such an amazing spirit, such an amazing person, and she was so good at what she did. She absolutely loved being a doula, and she showed that in everything that she did, especially when it came to me and my whole birthing process, and just being there and being such an amazing just support system for her mommies to be. And so obviously with me having to, you know, with me being pregnant again, I had always knew that Lanaya was going to be the person that would be delivering my babies. And so unfortunately she passed away at the beginning of this year, and is no longer here with us. And so because of that, obviously I couldn't have her to be my doula. So I say that to say a couple of things, and I'll say one of them later on, but I had to go on a search to find a new doula. I found one initially. It didn't end up working out because they just weren't able to meet the schedules or meet the requirements that I had. And so I ended up getting a new doula through my midwife, and she was the one that was going to be on call for my birth experience. Okay, I'm now fast forward to like 37, 38 weeks when all of this is going down, and I finally have a solid team. I'm ready to go. I'm like, we're 37 weeks. I like gave birth to Luna at 39.5, so I almost made it to 40 weeks. So I knew that there's a chance or a possibility that I would have this baby also in my 39th week as well. So I was like, but of course all of that is unknown. You don't know nothing until the baby actually gets here. But I was like, okay, it's a bigger chance that he's gonna get here when Luna got here, so let's go ahead and prep for that time frame. But if not, let's have everything set in stone beforehand, at least by 37 weeks, because we don't want baby to come earlier than that anyway. So yeah, so the only thing that was holding me up was the fact that baby was still posterior. So posterior basically means that the baby's head he's flipped upside down, but he's facing upward. So he's like looking like this in the belly when he should be looking downward, like upside down but downward. Right now this is what he looks like. Baby, me, our spines are back to back, but his spine should be like this. Okay, So that's not what was happening. And so we had to figure out a way to get baby to turn around because he was really comfortable in that position. We had to figure out a way to get him to turn around, and if once he does turn around, then that would be the one thing that would send me into labor. My midwife was like, okay, this is week 38. Week 38 was also the week of my birthday. So baby boy's due date was November 30th, okay? So we have like 5 major events that happen during this time frame, like this whole month of November. My husband's and I's anniversary is November 4th. My husband's birthday is November 7th. My birthday is November 20th. Baby's due date was November 30th, and my mom's birthday was December 1st. So my mom was like set in stone, like this baby's gonna come on my birthday. I don't care what y'all say, December 1st, this baby's gonna come. And I was like, okay, we all know that baby's gonna come when he wants to come, how he wants to come, and where he wants to come. But if December 1st is what you want, go ahead and pray to God, ask him, send him the signs and the signals that you want your baby to be born, your grandson, her baby, to be born on December 1st. So now I'm like, okay. Birthday came, sister and I went out, we celebrated, we made some candles. It was real cute. I loved the experience. If you're ever in Miami or Fort Lauderdale, go to Candleland. It's really dope. It's really cute. Such a vibe. I loved it. So thank you to my sister for taking me out. But anyway, so we went. I'm still pregnant and I'm in my 38th week at this point, okay? So I'm like, okay, 38 weeks. Thankfully, my midwife was like, I want to make it to at least 38 weeks. If we can make it to 38 weeks, then we're happy, we're home going. We don't have to worry about anything, and baby is perfectly aligned to where we want him to go. So right now I'm gonna use Anastasia Beverly Hills Cream Bronzer in the shade Chestnut for me to contour. So 38 weeks is here. So they're sending me all these websites and stuff to get this baby to flip around. And then she goes, why don't you go to a chiropractor? See a chiropractor. And the chiropractor can give you a prenatal adjustment, alignment. And with that prenatal alignment, I've heard that it could send you, like, really prepare you into labor, prepare you for labor. So I was like, okay, like, she didn't really say that it was gonna send me to labor, but she was like, it could, you know, set things up and help baby change his positioning. So at this point, I'm at the end of my 38th week. I'm going into 39 weeks. And so I went in. The doctor office was amazing. If you're ever in Coral Springs area, Florida area, look up Dr. Mon and go get you a nice little setup over there. It is, whew, that chiropractic experience was so amazing, and I just felt like it was top of the line. I felt like I had a great experience going there. Their staff is so kind, so amazing, but I was so upset because I didn't realize that I could go get chiropractic alignments my entire pregnancy. I went the last week of my pregnancy and had that bomb session to then not be able to go again. Like, what? 39 weeks, Wednesday, okay? Wednesday before Thanksgiving. He tells me in the chiropractic appointment, he's like checking, you know, checking my bones and stuff like that, and crack, you know, aligning and adjusting. And then he gets to my pelvic area. He's like, so your pelvic bones are unaligned. They're not aligned in the same way. I'm gonna go ahead and adjust your pelvic bone and align them so that they are parallel. Like, okay, no problem. Thinking like this is just a normal everyday procedure, like no problem, no big deal. We just gonna get it in where we get it in, okay? Going in with Tunzi Doll foundation in the shade 520, and we're gonna go all over with that. And I'm gonna use a fluffy brush to do that. So I'm like, okay, align them hips, sir. Go ahead, do what you gotta do. Get me together, because, like, first of all, this feels amazing. And second of all, we need this baby to turn around, okay? He aligns my hips. I go finish with the session and we're good. My appointment was like 5 o'clock on Wednesday night. Ciao. I went home thinking, all right, let's go ahead and get ready for Thanksgiving. Psych, okay? Go to sleep. 3 a.m. comes around. 3 a.m. comes around and I start having these dumb contractions, okay? The 8th and 9th month of my pregnancy, I had been having contractions the whole time. So to me, this is just another Braxton Hicks. I'm just thinking like, oh, no big deal. These are Braxton Hicks. I'm gonna get through them. I am having these serious contractions and I'm like, these contractions are really, really, really intense. I'm just telling myself like, these are really intense. These contractions are a lot more intense than the Braxton Hicks that I normally have, to the point where they woke me up out of my sleep. So they must have been like really, really intense, because the other contractions that I have, the Braxton Hicks, never really woke me up out of my sleep. They just like were contractions. I would tighten up and then I would untighten and I would be good to go. So this time around, I'm like, wait a minute, this is a lot. Like, these contractions is a little bit, but even in that, even still, I was like not thinking that nothing is happening. So 3 o'clock in the morning is here and I'm like, okay, let me text my doula and let her know that I'm having really, really intense contractions. Let me see what she says. Using Huda Beauty's Easy Bake Loose Baking and Setting Powder. This is the shade Kunafa. And then I'm gonna go over it with the shade Banana Pudding, or banana bread, my bad. This is a new doula that I have, and I am like, okay, let me go ahead and text her, because normally once I'm having like any type of serious contraction, I normally just text her and let her know like, hey, what's happening. So 3 o'clock gets here. I'm like, okay, these contractions are intense. They are building up, and I don't, like, even at in this point, I still don't think that I'm in labor. But I was just like, let me call and text my doula and midwife and just kind of like let them know that this is what I'm feeling. Y'all let me know, y'all make the call, but right now this is what I'm feeling. So they were like, I called my doula, or I texted my doula. She didn't respond. I called her. She didn't respond. So then I text my midwife. I text my midwife because I know it's 3 o'clock in the morning, but my midwife, if I am in labor right now, if I do go into labor, my midwife doesn't come until I'm at least 5 centimeters anyway. So that 5 centimeters would mean that like my contractions were a lot closer in order for my midwife to come. So I was like, I'm not gonna call her like right now. I can text her to just notify her, to let her know like what's happening, but I didn't think that I needed to call her. So I didn't. I text her and I was like, hey, when you see this, like I'm feeling these kind of contractions, you let me know what I need to do at this point. She didn't respond. I called my mom. My mom is in the other room. I called her on the phone because I'm not about to wake up the whole house. Luna is still sleeping. And my mom was still sleeping. She was supposed to go to work the next morning. So I'm like, I'm not gonna like wake her up for no reason. But if she's already up, let me let her know what's going on. My mom wouldn't know what to do, but at least somebody else in the house would know that like this is what's happening. So mom doesn't answer. I call my husband. He don't answer. Nobody answered. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me just try and remember what my last doula had taught me. Again, my last doula was the oh so beautiful Lanaya. And I had not as of yet met with my new doula to find out like what stretches, what positions she would recommend in labor. So I was just like, okay, well, let me go off of what I had learned when I was in labor with Lanaya and what exercises she taught me then to kind of try to get me through what I'm going through right now. But even in this moment, I don't know what was wrong with me. I just still did not believe that I was in labor. I just could not wrap my brain around the fact that I was in active labor right now. I didn't process it. So I'm like, okay, let me grab my birth ball. I grab my birth ball and I go into the shower and I put it under the shower and I just sit under the shower and let the hot water run on me. It's helping with these contractions. So I'm like, okay, like we're good. Luna's still sleeping, so I get a moment to myself. I'm going to be using the Morphe 8D palette. Use some of the shades, and I'm going to be using their bronzers that are like right there. So I'm like, okay, I got to get out the shower now because Luna is waking up and I gotta go tend to my first child and put her back to sleep. So I go in the room and I'm like, okay, but again, these contractions are just so different than what I had already experienced with Braxton Hicks. So I'm like, these are just a lot more intense. Maybe it's still Braxton Hicks, but I'm still thinking that it's Braxton Hicks because with Luna, all of the symptoms, all of the signs that I needed to have in order to know that I was in labor had happened. So I had lost, you know, my mucus, my water had broke at like 505, 502, 505. And when my water broke, my mucus plug, I lost my mucus plug. I had a bloody show. Like, I just had all of the requirements that they say you're supposed to have, like all of the labor signs. I had all of them when it came to Luna. But with this pregnancy, like, I had not had nothing. No water was broken, no mucus plug, no bloody show, no back ache, nothing was happening aside from these contractions. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not in active labor, I'm just having serious contractions. Hindsight, I was in full on labor. I was literally in labor, like active labor. So for those who don't know, there are two different types of well, there's basically three types of labors. There is labor, which is when, you know, you start the process of actually going into labor. And then there's active labor, and the active labor is once you hit 5 centimeters. So active labor is when you are like, okay, within a couple of hours of having your baby, okay? And then there is transition, and transition is like the final aspect, final countdown. We're about to have this baby, like right now. Normally within the next 15 minutes after transitioning, you're about to have that baby. So I was like, let me remember what this girl told me. So did the whole bathroom thing, came back to the room, and then at that point, I grabbed the birth ball and I came and I like went on all fours, and so I'm just rocking back and forth on all fours, just trying to relieve some of the pain, you know. And this is, again, all of the things that Lanaya had taught me when I gave birth to Luna. So for me, even though, ooh, I'm about to get emotional, even though Lanaya wasn't able to be here physically with me, even though Lanaya wasn't able to be here physically with me, she was literally the only person that I had during this whole, oh my God. She was the only person that I had during this whole process of me laboring. I labored with baby boy for 2 hours. And so all of these things that I was doing were all things that I had been taught by Lanaya when I gave birth to Luna. So I just kind of picked up on those things, and I was like, hey, she taught me this. I remember her saying this. I remember her saying to do this. And you know, just some of the different techniques that she gave me while I was laboring with Luna. And so I would remember those things, and those are the things that I did while I was having contractions this time around. Whew. She was just such a beautiful spirit and such an amazing person. Okay. Whew. At this point, this is now like, this started at 3 o'clock. This is now like 4:30-ish, 4:45-ish, and my doula finally responds to me. And my doula is like, okay, are they consistent? So I had already started to track my contractions, and I'll post a picture of my contractions and the counts of them at this point. My contractions were literally 2 minutes apart, 30 seconds each. And at that point, if you've ever been pregnant and you know what your contractions are supposed to be like, you're supposed to start going to the hospital when your contractions are 5 minutes apart. My contractions were 2 minutes apart, and I had not, like, I had nobody that was supposed to be on my team there with me. Nobody. My doula was not there. She finally texted me back at this point, and she's like, hey, try to relax. I'm gonna come to you in the morning and bring you some like magnesium to kind of try to relax you, just in case, you know, we are starting the laboring process. So I'm like, okay, no problem. Still thinking that, like, if this is the laboring process, I have time, because with Luna, I labored for 18 hours. So So I'm like, we got time if I am in labor. And my doula, I mean my midwife at this time, had moved to a different city that was at least 7 hours away. So I would have to call her once my water broke, and then she would start making her way over down to me, and you know, we would start to prepare for this whole process of me going into labor. Well, I didn't think I was in labor, so I never like told her, and she was sleeping at that point, because normally you know, when this stuff happens 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, she has enough time to like, okay, I'm on my way, I'll be there shortly or whatever, and not miss the birth of a child. So now I have to be mom to Luna. I'm having contractions that are out of this world, that at the time I didn't know were actual labor contractions. And not only were they labor contractions, but they were active labor contractions. So my contractions were more intense, more frequent, and they were literally at the end of, like, I was at the end of it all. So I was having transitional contractions, and that transitional contraction means that my cervix at this point is at least 8 to 9 centimeters wide. So this is what I would say 8 to 9 centimeters looks like. Okay, this is how big my cervix is at this point, and I have no idea, because nobody was there to be able to check me. I didn't know that I was in active labor. My doula had not made it to me yet. It was just, y'all. I'm just thinking about all of this now, and I'm just like, what in the entire heck? Like, oh my gosh. And then my doula tells me to go relax. So I go to try and lay down with my daughter on the bed to try to put her back to sleep. Oh my God. The contraction that came once I laid down was like the most intense. It felt like my body was literally going into shock. Like I was just like trembling, I don't even know how to explain it. Now, I've had serious contractions, and again, I've done this without medicine, unassisted, you know, birthed a whole child on my own with my midwife and my doula there or whatever, with Luna. And again, if you haven't seen that, I'll put it up here so you guys can see it in the previous video. But I had done all of that, but I did the final stages of all of that, I did in water. And they say that water is a natural like epidural. So I wasn't feeling this intense of pain like I was this night, because this night I was outside of water. I didn't know that I needed to be in a pool. I don't have a tub here at my house. I have a shower, so a walk-in shower, so I couldn't submerge myself in water to kind of like feel better. I was just trying to be a mom to Luna at the same time. I'm feeling these intense contractions, and I'm just like, this is insane. The last contraction happens on the bed, and I'm just like, this is, Lord God, this is a lot. So I get up out of the bed and I walk over to my bathroom. So my bedroom and the bathroom are literally right next door to each other. They're connected to each other. So I walk out of the room and I walk into the bathroom, and I remember again that Lanaya had told me that if I need to ever relieve some pain, that I could also sit on the toilet backwards, and that would relieve some of the pain in my pelvic area. Well, that was like the final straw for my body, because as soon as I sat on the toilet, I had the worst. I thought the contraction on the bed was bad. This contraction was like the worst contraction I have ever felt. I felt pain in my pelvic area. I felt contraction in my stomach, and it was just like my body was even in even more shock than it was the first time around, right? And so I have a high pain tolerance for pain, so I can sit in pain and be like, okay, I'm good, like I'm good, I'm still good. Like I can do all of that and still be like perfectly fine and still be good, you know. But this time around I was like, oh no, I literally said I need to go to the hospital. And they normally say that when you start saying stuff like that, like if I planned a natural birth and then I say, like, I was so gun-ho for this natural birth, I was set in stone on this natural birth, and then all of a sudden I say that I need to go to the hospital, they normally say that that is the transitioning part where you're like literally at the last 15 minutes of your birth. But even still in this time, y'all, big dummy Taisha still was not putting 2 and 2 together that like, yo, I could be in labor right now. Like I could really just be seriously be in labor. In my mind, I just didn't process it. I just did not think that I was in labor. I really just did not think I was in labor. So next thing you know, I get up. I told y'all I had this serious contraction on the toilet, okay? And I get up and I start walking back towards my room. I'm still using the Morphe 8 palette in the blushes, and I'm using these 2 shades right here. And so I start to get up and I start walking back towards my bedroom, and all of a sudden I'm just paralyzed in that spot, like right there, and I can't move. I cannot move my legs. Like my legs are stuck, okay? I can go nowhere. And next thing you know, my water explodes like it was just like the biggest explosion of life. I don't know where this explosion came from, but it straight up exploded. And they normally say like in, well, you know, when you're going into water birth, they're like, yo, this myth about your water exploding, like going crazy, going ham, is so a lie. Your water doesn't normally explode like that. So it's not like it is in movies. Like when movies show you that women's water break, they like show you like this fire hydrant experience. It's like water is everywhere. Like they're just like, that's not how your water normally breaks. Your water will break like really, really softly, or it'll be like a trickle or something like that, or it'll just be a leak, but it won't be like a full-on explosion. Girl, nah, child. My water was a full-on explosion. Water explodes, water breaks, and I'm like, Mom! Because at this point I'm like, oh my gosh, I think now I'm actually in labor. like my water just broke, and I put my hand in between my legs and I feel the baby's head crowning. If you don't know what the baby's head crowning means, that means that the baby's head is like at the edge of my area and it's coming out. The baby's head is coming out, and I'm like, I'm having a baby. Like, what? I'm having a baby right now? Like, what do you mean I'm having a baby right now? This is not what I was expecting. I'm thinking that I still had time to call my doula, to call my midwife, wait for them to get here, and for my mom to be here, for me to tell my husband that I'm about to have his baby. Like, I'm expecting that all of this, I have time. I labored for 18 hours with Luna. It's been 2 hours from the time that I woke up. What are you telling me right now? So I'm like screaming, I'm like, Mom! She goes, yes! And she comes running to my room. My mom was there in like less than 2 seconds. I don't know how she got there, but she comes dashing to my room, and I'm like, Mom, the baby's crowning. And she's like, what does it mean by crowning? What do you mean that the baby is crowning? What does that mean? I'm like, Mom, his head is right here. Like, his head is right here, right here. And she's like, oh my gosh, what do you mean? Oh my God, okay. So she puts her hands in between my legs, and literally in 2 seconds, the baby falls out of me. Like I push him out of me, and she catches him. Pause for a second. Let me rewind all of this. I forgot to tell y'all, the week of my pregnancy, the week of my due date, my mom came home with COVID. So my entire team is in shambles because we're trying to figure out how we're going to deliver a baby in the house that is now exposed to COVID. My mom has COVID. She might not be able to be at the birth of my child. And we're just trying to figure out, my birthing team is like, I don't know if I can be there. My midwife and my doula were like, nah, I'm going to be there regardless. But the birthing assistants and like all the extra team were just like, I don't know. So we were up in the air trying to figure out if I was even going to be able to have my team there for this birth. And now fast forward, I can't even have my team there, and the one person that was not going to be able to be there was my mom, and she caught the baby. She had taken some medicine, that little medicine that they had gave our former president that like cures you in 5 days. Well, it works. So if they offer that to y'all, take it, because my mom was COVID free when she caught my baby. My mom was COVID free, and at this point she had been wearing a mask every single day, and she could not, because I called her so fast and she jumped out of sleep, she couldn't put on a mask. So she caught this baby mask free, COVID free. And it was literally just me and my mom in the room. I gave birth to this baby in the middle of the hallway in the bathroom. Y'all, what? What are you telling me right now? What are you telling me right now? I just gave birth to a baby in 2 hours in the hallway of my bathroom. Like, everything I had bought, everything I had set up, everything that I was supposed to be doing with this water birth went out the window. Out the window. How did this happen to me? So my mom calls the ambulance. I'm using the Maybelline Great Lash, and I'll also be using MAC's Extended Play to put on some mascara. So we call the ambulance and we're like, oh, I'm like, Mom, call the ambulance, call the ambulance. And she's like, I what's the ambulance? I said, Mom, call 911. She's like, what's the number? My mom was freaking out. My mom was freaking out. And she had told me that she wanted to feel more involved this time around because in the last labor and delivery, she didn't feel as involved. So I said, okay, I'm gonna make sure you feel involved. And God was like, oh, you wanna feel involved? I got you. You're gonna be the only one there, and you're gonna catch this baby. Shut her up real quick. Shut my mama up real quick, y'all. Are y'all serious? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? So she calls the ambulance, and she calls the 911 operator. The 911 operator is like, you gotta tie off the umbilical cord and make sure mommy is warm. And I'm like, ma'am, I'm not tying off no umbilical cord because I want my placenta to keep going. My baby's gonna transfer, the placenta's gonna transfer all this blood to my baby before I tie this up and before I cut this up. So don't tell me, I'm not listening to you. She's like, ma'am, you have to tie it up. And I'm like, ma'am, I'm not tying it up. I'm not going to do that. Thank you for your advice, but I'm not tying my baby's umbilical cord. We go back and forth. I'm over here fighting with the 911 operator because they just don't get it. When you're having a natural birth, they just don't get it. They think that you want to do things in the same protocol as the hospital, and it's not the way that I wanted to do it. So I was like, ma'am, thank you, but no thank you. And I knew that I didn't have to cut off the umbilical cord because we've done delayed cutting with my first pregnancy, and I knew that it was something that could be done. So I like, you're not gonna convince me. Anyway, finally the paramedics get there, and I think they were just so like overwhelmingly excited to see this type of thing, because normally, honestly, they don't get to see this type of stuff happen very often, because most of the time when they're coming to the house for a woman that has given birth, they're coming to the house because they're transitioning her in the like labor process. You know what I mean? Like if she was like 5 centimeters and she was like, oh no, I need to go to the hospital, I need an epidural. That's normally when they see her. They never see once the baby's actually delivered and see a healthy delivery, you know, a baby being born in the house. So everybody's question to me was, did you plan to have the baby at home? Did you plan to have the baby at home? Was the baby planned to be had at home? Was it a planned natural birth? I'm like, yes, this was planned. Not in this way, but it was planned. I was going to have my baby at home. They were like, so like I made it to the hospital so that they could check me and, you know, get all this, make sure that I was okay. And I tore with Luna, so I knew that I needed to get checked this time around to make sure I didn't tear. And if I did tear, I needed stitches. So I knew I needed to go to the hospital. I get to the hospital, and the EMT workers like giving them the rundown of everything, and they're like, you know, she didn't cut the umbilical cord. They're like, why? Like, it was so foreign to the doctors to hear that I had not, like, that I requested that the umbilical cord not be cut. So it was still attached to me, inside of me, because my placenta had not come out yet. So I made it to the hospital with baby and placenta still attached to me. Make sure y'all travel with both of us connected. And I had got there so that there was no placenta cut, and then I had the baby at home. So now all of these doctors are just so intrigued with what just happened. The entire hospital floor knew that I delivered at home and delivered this baby in my home. It was so funny. I made it to the hospital, and my mom was still freaking out. I'm gonna put a picture up of what my mom looked like once I made it into the ambulance and I was on my way to the hospital. She didn't go in the ambulance with me. So I'm gonna show y'all a picture of what my mom looked like. My poor baby was stressed. If I didn't traumatize my mom with the home birth with Luna already, I definitely traumatized her this time around. Like, my mom was like, please, please, please don't do anything more than this. I cannot handle this anymore. My mama was stressed, okay? My mama was stressed. This is INV super strong hold glue I'm gonna use on my lashes. But my mama was so stressed, y'all. She was so stressed. Like, I can't believe I just caught this baby. I wasn't even supposed to be here because of this whole COVID situation. I wasn't supposed to be even in the labor like facility because of the whole COVID situation. And then for me to end up being the only person there and I caught the baby. What? Where does that even happen? Like, where does that even happen? It doesn't. So it was just such an amazing experience. But when we got to the hospital, literally everybody was so intrigued, so just overwhelmed with like, what happened? How did this happen? Did you plan this? And so I had called my husband. I told y'all that I had called my husband. I told him like to tell him that I was in labor or something was happening. He didn't answer. So at this point I called him again and I was like, hey, like I called him in the ambulance. I was like, hey. He's like, where are you? And I'm like, in the ambulance. He's like, what happened? And I'm like, congratulations. He was so shocked, like, what? What do you mean congratulations? How did this happen? What happened? Why are you in the ambulance? When did you have this baby? There was so many questions and so many just, we could not figure it out. He could not figure it out. It was just such an amazing time. It's an amazing experience. But nobody that I had planned to be at my birthing experience, I had planned to have a photographer, baby's godfather. He couldn't make it, he couldn't come because everything happened so fast. I had planned for my sisters to be there. One is studying this in medical school. She couldn't even make it to the birth because it happened so fast. Like, my midwife couldn't make it, my doula, nobody could make it in time. And if I had tried to go to the hospital to have this baby, I would have had the baby in the car. I would have literally had this baby in the car. So it was just all in all crazy. I had so much just set up. I had my camera set up, I had tripods, I had like just the atmosphere, I had my birthing pool, I had all of this stuff set up for me to be able to have this water birth at home and for us to be able to film it. And I have nothing. Thank God my mom pulled out her phone and took a picture of me sitting on the bathroom floor. Because I have nothing. I literally have nothing to show y'all. Nothing. And I know y'all was waiting, because I was waiting. I was like, yes, I'm gonna put up this video and I'm gonna show them and they're gonna be so excited, just like they were with Luna. Nothing. Y'all, let me put this lash on. Anyway, y'all, so I'm gonna come back on. I'm gonna finish putting these lashes on, and then I am going to come back on and introduce y'all to y'all new nephew. I'm gonna introduce you to your new nephew so you guys can see him and get to meet him. So we'll be back, y'all. I'm gonna put this other lash on and put my clothes on, and then I'll be right back, okay? Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't go nowhere though. I'll be right back.
Alright, you guys, I am back and I'm sure you can hear all of the cooing happening. So I would formally like to introduce you to my baby boy, my son, Aziel Senio Montas. Say hi. Hi, everybody. That's my baby. Say hi. So he was born on Thanksgiving Day. Say hi. Are you saying hi? He was born on Thanksgiving Day at 5:28 a.m. And he's the love of my life. I love him so much. And I love Luna. And I love my husband. Oh my God. I can't believe I have a son. I can't believe that this is my life. Oh my gosh. He is my sunshine. And I'm so excited to be a mom. So excited to be his mom. So excited to be his mom. So there you guys go. Thank you guys for being on this journey with us and celebrating with us and loving with us and being joyful with us. And just thank you so much for just being by our sides the entire time. Your comments are so appreciated. Your love is so appreciated. We see it, we appreciate it, we love it. We're just so thankful for you guys. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts for everything. And yeah, share some comments, share some love down in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts of his name, of how cute he is, my baby. So thank you guys for watching. We will see you in the next video. Bye.
Ms. Collins, however, I can't interrupt you. So I'm just representing this question. Are you saying to me